I think the best way to describe what it feels like right now to be a Palestinian citizen of Israel is utter and complete paralysis. It's just like, let's start again. In Israel, there are around 9 and something million citizens. People around the world don't really know that, but 20% of Israel's population are Palestinians. Technically, we are Israelis. We have Israeli passports, we have Israeli ID cards, we are citizens of Israel. But I think at the moment, there's no shortage of evidence that shows that for at least 20% of the population of this country, it doesn't feel like a democracy. There's always been restrictions on freedom of expression and freedom of speech when it comes to Palestinian citizens of Israel. But, post October 7th was probably one of the worst weeks of my entire life. The atmosphere was terrifying, horrifying. There have been few incidents and few scenes on Israeli media that I will never forget my entire life. I remember one guy looking at the camera warning Palestinian citizens of Israel.
אם יהיו ביניכם כאלה שיעזו לנסות ולפרוע בנו, הם יפגשו משטרה וכוחות ביטחון, ואם לא תהיה ברירה, אפילו אזרחים אשר יבהירו לכם כהלכה. מה מחירה של בוגדנות בזמן מלחמה.
I remember another incident where an Israeli soldier was on TV with his army uniform and he was talking to a Palestinian journalist. She was from the Israeli Broadcasting Corporation. She was supposed to do like a small report on Palestinian citizens of Israel, and then all of a sudden this guest on the panel looks at her and says something like,
מי שיראה פה הזדהות הכי קטנה עם הרעיון המטורף החולני הזה, והוא טועה וחושב שאפשר לסכן את קיומה של מדינת ישראל ועם ישראל, אנחנו נהרוג אתכם.
In the before times, such monologues would be labeled as, fringe, and maybe that, TV personality would get even fired. Now it's mainstream. There's one channel, Channel 14, who makes Fox News look like the most progressive, amazing news channel in the world. It's insane what's happening there.
הכל חרב, הכל נגמר, אין כבישים, אין בתים, אין בית אחד שלם, הכל נהרס. בקיצור, החבר'ה נתנו פה עבודה, ואנחנו רק בתחילת הדרך.
At the moment, if you watch the most popular TV channel in Israel, Channel 12, and if you watch, after you watch Channel 14, you won't see many differences.
נכנסים לעזה במטרה לנקום. צריך להיות מקסימום גופות.
And this is very alarming. The entire Israeli, population has moved more to the right in a very dramatic tectonic shift. And it is partially, or maybe mainly, you could argue, because of the media. The fact that the louder you shout and the louder you demand that, the Gazans would be obliterated, the more likely it is you get more invites to come and be featured in other TV panels. I think my greatest disappointment is from Haaretz, to be honest. For years and years and years, it was, I would argue, the only real respected media outlet in Israel. But what's happened after October 7th? All of a sudden, you wake up, you open the newspaper, and you see, columns and articles and reports calling for genocide, even in Haaretz. Some of these people are my friends. I thought they were my friends. I go to their social media and I see one of their reporters just like sharing a photo of a bomb signed by her. I see other journalists in that same outlet making jokes with their friends when they're going to build their beach home after they occupy Gaza and commit genocide on the Palestinian people. That's not funny. That's not funny. That's really worrying and it's really terrifying. It's become insane. I mean, I feel like there is no talking to these people. Like, why did you write that? Why did you say that? Why all of a sudden? I mean, you were critical of the Israeli occupation in the past. Why all of a sudden are you writing an article, demanding a genocide in Gaza? So, in terms of representation of Palestinians or Palestinian journalists or Palestinian public figures in Israeli media, and I'm talking about before October 7th, obviously, on a good day, the representation was about 4%. 4% of the interviewees were Palestinian. Post October 7th, I mean, I haven't seen any people, being invited to talk about what's happening. So it's not just we are afraid to share our empathy and solidarity and our fear, we are also, prohibited from talking about that fear. I was a host of a show that was called On the Other Hand in Arabic on the Israeli Public Broadcasting Corporation. And the sole aim of the show was to just counter fake news.
بالبرنامج رح نبحث هل بيحكوا لنا الحقيقة؟ كل الحقيقة وبس الحقيقة.
Someone like me who's made a career out of being critical, out of exposing fake news, it does feel very, very paralyzing, and it's been causing me some form of an identity crisis, to be honest, not to be able to speak up against what we're seeing on Israeli media at the moment. I haven't been posting anything on my social media, by the way, ever since October 7th. It doesn't feel safe anymore. On October 7th, I woke up. The first thing I did was to call some of my close friends, Palestinian public figures, and the first thing I said was, you guys, something weird is happening. It looks horrifying. Please do not post anything on social media. Social media is being monitored so closely. If you like the wrong post, if you share the wrong post, most likely, you will get a knock on the door and they will come and take you. So yeah, it's unprecedented, and from there the firing of people, mass arrests of people, and students being expelled from their dorms just because they're Arabs. The road was very, very, very short. So just to give you an example on the severity, the level of incitement against Palestinians in Israeli social media at the moment, there's one group on Telegram called Nazi Hunters by Israeli right-wing activists. And what they do on this group, they put a picture of Palestinian activists behind a sniper's lens, and they write down your name, what you do, where you work. You don't want to end up on that group because you're not going to get any protection from the police. In a reality where so many Israelis carry guns in the streets now, and if they meet someone they recognize from that group, Nazi hunters, it could become catastrophic. You have to not only navigate the toxicity of Israeli media, the Israeli government, and the Israeli mainstream, but you have to also be very smart in how you navigate the toxicity of Israeli social media. It's very hard to find Palestinian, public figures who are willing to go on camera, and I only agreed to do this interview now, where I feel, somewhat safer than in the past, few weeks. How long can you stay silent? And again, as someone who's been, I'm a journalist. I made a career out of being, outspoken and critical. So this is the time. This is the time to speak up. I believe we need to find a way to navigate this new reality that we have to deal with now. And we do need to find new ways to keep telling our stories and to keep, exposing the truth, and to push back against people who deny the right to know the truth.